in the quantum sciences program that I had the honor of taking part in, we learned about the energetics of the human element, right? And how the energetics do interact with one another. And to me, when I equate that to self-love and love in general, the average human being emits, just sitting here, you and I, just sitting here right now, we emit as much, if not more energy than the lights that are shining on us right now, the light bulb. So if we think about what we've learned in kinesiology and the study of the output of energy from people, love resonates at a very, high frequency and stable. So it's like a soft, white, bright light that just stays stable and shines very, very consistently. If we think about fear, it is more like a strobe light. It's like do-do-do-do-do-do-do and very erratic. So when we put those two things together and we think about the energy that we're emitting, if we're emitting as much as a light bulb, if not more, I alone can either be erratic and like a strobe light, or I can be soft and bright and consistent. And that's what's just emitting from me out to you and establishing how I'm going to operate in a given day. So if I'm erratic and all over the place, that's going to affect how I interact in the world. Then when I come in contact with you, you're going to feel that, and it's going to interact and kind of interrupt how you interact in the world. Right now, the majority of us, based on scientific studies, our thoughts, more than 80% of them are based in fear. And we cycle through those thoughts. 90+% of our thoughts are recycled thoughts. So here we are cycling in thoughts of fear. So most of us are walking around as strobe lights interacting with each other. Very few of us are taking the time to love from within and keep that consistent pattern. And the best way to create, the best way to really hold a space of creative forward movement is from that space of consistent flow. So if you truly desire to change your world, I'm not talking about changing the world, I'm talking about changing your world, then love yourself. Begin to become that flow of love from within you. And that's science. It's not just love yourself, love yourself.
Bubble baths.
It is science at this point.
Right.
And not pseudoscience, science.
Yeah. Fact. Absolutely. It's that's amazing to kind of build on that. If we each focused on changing our own world in that way, then the byproduct would be changing the world as a whole. And so sometimes it's we do have that desire, many of us, to want to change the world. But it's like, wow, there's one of us and almost 8 billion people. How can we even begin that process? It just seems overwhelming, unsurmountable. And so we can't direct what everyone else is doing. We can't, even if there's an illusion of that, we still can't. Everyone has that, at least from my perspective, everyone has that free will. And so we can direct our own actions. And so that's what I love about what you're saying, which kind of leads me to want to take it almost philosophically here, from the science into the philosophical, right? So you were talking about the strobe lights, and I feel like it's such a good visual for people to understand and connect, because you're saying, okay, well, in that sense, if we are that light bulb and we're focusing in the fear, and that's like that strobe light, what does a strobe light do? It goes from light to dark, light to dark. So when you're in fear, yeah, that's kind of the flow. Fear being a little bit of that dark, love being that light. It's kind of like this back and forth, unsure, not able to stay consistent in one or the other. And the reason why that love, that light, that warm light that we know is so comforting, and we feel that, we all know it exists, is because the reality is, as we were talking about, that love is our foundation. That is our very essence of our being. And so when we are choosing fear, we're choosing an extension of love, but not love itself. And so we're almost like stepping away, kind of like when we stretch a rubber band, and it's like we pull it and then you let it go and it comes back. Well, it's always going to be that shape. It's just when we pull it and we stretch it out, we can move it around, it can be maneuverable, but the reality is it's always going to come back. And so that's how we are. And fear is kind of like that rubber band for us, where we kind of stretch to understand and experience and all these things. And that's fine. But at some point we have to decide, does living in fear help us achieve what our goals are? Does that help us achieve our passion? Does it help us not only individually, but collectively reach what we desire to reach as a human species? I feel like we've proven time and time again that fear does not do that. And so that's what I feel in the very depth of my soul, and I know you do as well, and why we are on this mission of creating a global movement of love with Sweet Vera, is to show that we can come back to the very essence of who we are, individually and collectively. We are love. And so when we can flip the script and not let fear be where we're approaching things, but instead make love the base for how we approach things. But that's what I want to kind of dive into with you next year. We can talk about not approaching, whether it's a relationship or a business or a personal decision, or really any choice in life, from that fear and lack, which we have been so ingrained over years and years and years, and generations and generations and generations. But now we can shift into how to approach it from love and abundance.